Joining me on India First is Lieutenant General k.j.s. Dhillon, former Kashmir Corps Commander, former Director General of India's Defence Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra as former Indian Consul General to Karachi, and the author of the book Where Borders Bleed, an insider account of India-Pakistan relations. Yashovardhan Azad is not just former Special Director of India's Intelligence Bureau. He'd served as the Security Liaison Officer for the Indian team's 2000 tour of Pakistan, and this was the first bilateral series between India and Pakistan in nearly a decade and a half after the Kargil war, Parliament attack, and so many other terror attacks from Pakistan. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar joins me on this broadcast. My first question is to Nikhil Naz, Consultant Editor, Sports India Today. Nikhil, is any action being contemplated or being taken against Farhan or Haris Rauf for their ungentlemanly behavior on field?
Well, at the moment, I'm coming to you live from Dubai. Of course, Gaurav, I keep updating you. At the moment, doesn't seem to be any sort of action. I'm just trying to explain all of that. Firstly, as an Indian journalist who was present at the ground when all of these things happened, and in fact, things that happened leading up to this game. Remember, I reported about Harris screaming 6-0 while they were playing a football match, making a reference to the concocted story that they've come from the 10th of May. That was the lead up that we saw. And then on the day of the game as well, as an Indian journalist covering the game, uh, I was definitely offended to have seen something like that. But was it unexpected? I don't think so. I knew that these things were bound to happen after the Indian team refused to shake their hands. And you had Indian captain Surya Kumar Yadav thanking the Indian Armed Forces in the game prior to this for their successful completion of Operation Sindoor. So I knew I was expecting it. But there's a big distinction to be made here between how the Indian team conducted themselves and how the Pakistan team have conducted themselves. The Indian team refrained from making any comments, derogatory or any such comments about Pakistan. All they did was dedicate their victory to the victims of the terror attack in Pahalgam as well as the Indian Armed Forces. What is it that Haris Rao was doing? He was making gestures which I would call childish, immature, vulgar, to say the least. Those are the gestures that we're making. And I think what this actually illustrates is that here are two teams, and there is a big gulf, not just in their cricketing skills that we've seen on the cricket field, there's a big gulf in the way they conduct themselves as well. So those are the two things that were witnessed in terms of the celebration that Sajjada Khan also did, and then the gestures that Haris was making. No action at the moment has been taken, but I had a lot of Indian fans really come up to me and say that, look at them, they're making these gestures, talking about Rafale and things like that. So I only had one thing to share with Indian fans. I'll share it with your viewers as well. I said that, listen, what does a person do when he's had a terrible, terrible day at office? He goes back home. He wants to see fiction. He wants to see a comedy film, and anything that gives him relief, he will go and do that. So if a fictional story, if a comical story gives them relief after the drubbing that they get on the cricketing field, then so be it. Let them look for the relief in these concocted stories that they've come up with.
Fair enough. Stay with me, Nikhil. I want to bring in General Dhillon into this conversation. General, as a soldier, when you see a cricketer mimic an AK-47 assault rifle firing or the crash of a plane, in their view, in your view, is that acceptable behavior in an international sport? Or should action be taken against these Pakistani players, and not just the players, but their team?
Gaurav, good evening, and good evening to the fellow panelists and viewers. First of all, whatever the ICC or the other boards and committees take an action, that's a separate issue. I want to touch upon why these people are doing this. There is a term called PTSD, post-trauma strike disorder. If it is a genetic disorder, then they're carrying the trauma of 1971, 93,000. And if it is a recent trauma, that means they're 9-0 of terror and 11-0 of the air bases. Then their post-trauma strike disorder is of Operation Sindoor. Now their Pakistani Air Force and Pakistani Army could not do anything, and that's how these poor chaps are carrying that trauma. And now they are gesturing what their Army and Air Force was supposed to do, which failed to do, which failed to take off. And they were shot like a sitting duck in Operation Sindoor. And then to mimic AK-47 with a barrel pointing towards your own self only shows the IQ of these chaps. And then to compare it with the Pahalgam, I think that's the most heinous of a mind game, if at all it is. These people have genetically deformed, and the terrorism is in their DNA now. Now, that is all it can be said. And I think I have always believed we should have no ties with this terror state, either
Yes.
correcting or whatsoever. And I stand firmly with that. I have not watched the matches. I have only seen the clips on a program now. And I firmly believe these people are not worth our time and efforts and our game.
I completely agree with you on this part, sir, and I also agree this does look like PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder that these Pakistanis are undergoing, perhaps from every drubbing they've received. Ambassador Dogra, you've been posted in Pakistan, you've served in Pakistan, you've written Where Borders Bleed, an insider account of India-Pakistan relations. Clearly, cricketing ties do not foster better relations between the two people, and especially in a country that's led by their army, either directly or indirectly. For Pakistan, isn't this war by another means? Either they send their terrorists or they resort to such obnoxious tactics.
Well, cricket is a gentleman's game, but obviously Pakistan feels otherwise. I have had personal experience of India losing consistently when I was posted in Pakistan. This is about 92, 93, 94. And on one occasion, my host informed me when a match was going on in Dubai that the Prime Minister, the then Prime Minister of Pakistan, was also going to be there at that dinner where I was invited. So he requested that I should come 10 minutes after the game is over because we will be in a celebratory mood. Pakistan used to win consistently during that period. So I said, yes, of course, that's perfectly understood. As promised, I reached there 15 minutes late, and still the cheering was going on. There was big laughter I could hear from outside the door. But the moment I entered, Prime Minister was seated right opposite me in the room. The cheering stopped, and that was natural because they were not embarrassed, but they were just respecting me as a guest from another country. But I didn't stop there. I said,
Okay.
क्रिकेट में हार गए हैं, अब तो दोस्ती का हाथ बढ़ाइए. That is one reaction. The Pakistani reaction consistently across the board is not to extend the hand of friendship. I have written in my book Where Borders Bleed, and Mr. VP Singh, former Prime Minister, came to Karachi for an opposition's leaders meeting. I was seeing him off, sitting in the lounge, and Benazir
Yes.
Bhutto, as the host, had also come there. The moment she entered the lounge, she said, Mr. Dogra, do you know who I met while coming here? So both Mr. VP Singh and I said, who? The Lieutenant General in charge of Karachi. He said, when I told him the ex-Prime Minister is here, would you like to shake his hands? He said, no, because his men killed my boys. That is how Pakistani leadership behaves, military leadership. Let me also give you an example of how Pakistani politicians behave.
No,
When
you're
Mr.
absolutely right,
Raja-
sir. Let me bring in Ambassador. Ambassador, give me a moment. I want to bring in Yashovardhan Azad also into this conversation as we take this forward. Sir, you went to Pakistan as the Indian team security liaison officer in 2004, if I remember correctly, that tour of Pakistan that happened after the Kargil war, after the Parliament attack, after IC-814 hijack, after the Kaluchak military station massacre. What was your reading of the Pakistani mindset? The impression is that for their players, cricket is jihad for Kashmir or means to convert other players to Islam, and there are multiple instances, Mr. Azad.
Gaurav, it depends on the kind of players you have. In '99 also, I was the security liaison officer with the Pakistani team, and I traveled all across India, where India gave an amazing example of sportsmanship. In Calcutta, I remember I gave the orders, and the police commissioner was there, and I said the stadium has to be cleared because the crowd was very upset. Sachin had gotten out, and they had only 17 runs to win. So we played and made them win to an empty stadium. And in Chennai, the entire crowd, clapped. Still, the Pakistani team had won. Now, there's a clear difference between our team and their team. You know, they had some wonderful guys, Wasim Akram, Mohsin, who were educated, Ejaz. But on this side, you see everyone is almost educated. You know, guys like Dravid, guys like Lakshman, guys like Sachin Tendulkar. So there's a different class altogether. So in that respect, the question which you are asking is absolutely right. There is a difference. So the behavior is very, very coarse sometimes. And since I used to be in the bus and traveling with them all the time, there were times when I had to go and reprimand them and ask Wasim Akram, the captain, to sort of control them. In 2003, when I had gone all over Pakistan to see whether games can be allowed or not, and traveled to almost every nook and corner, met with the generals, each one of them, they're very interested in cricket and songs. These two things they're very interested in. But they're also interested in beating us. And they always completely derided the point that there was any security issue. But anyway, we got the moon ultimately because I fought for it and we got the presidential scale of security and we beat the hell out of them in almost every game. But you know,
Okay.
my point, only last point about the Asia Cup is that I always maintained, I never watched the match in protest, but I've
Yes.
seen what you have shown. You know, Asia Cup is not a big deal. If we want the message to carry to the world that a terrorist nation should not be allowed on a cricket ground, we could have easily boycotted the Asia Cup. And Gaurav, let me go further. I would say boycott everything. How many golds are you winning in Olympics anyway? How many, even if you win a World Cup, it doesn't matter because India today has the maximum money power through the ICC. So every country, including the three countries, Australia, England, and South Africa, will come to play your IPL. Your message will carry, and like apartheid, you will be successful by just being patient for 1 year. So I've always
So let me
believed.
just flip this around. Let me flip this around. Instead of us boycotting the game, Ambassador Sajanhar, why can't we oust Pakistan if we have that might in ICC and if it's all about cricket where we have the heft? Shoaib Akhtar speaks of Ghazwa-e-Hind. Ahmad Shehzad tried to convert Dilshan to Islam in 2014. Babar Azam described Pakistan's 2021 victory as kufr toot gaya. So it's not a one-off. Pakistan has a radical Islamist mindset. Instead of us boycotting, can we throw them out and should we make that effort?
Yeah, thank you very much, Gaurav. I think couple of things here. Number one, whatever is done on the cricket field, of course, that definitely needs to be taken cognizance of. That needs, whichever players were responsible for that, they need to be called into action. And let us see what is done by BCCI and ICC, etc., in terms of taking decision. Some of the quotes that you have given, what Babar Azam has said, Wakar Yunus has said, etc., etc. If they are said off the field in their private capacities, etc., there is not all that much that we can do to hold them to accountable for that. But yes, definitely what is done on the field, that is something that they should be displaying the proper spirit. But we have seen, and anyone who has dealt with Pakistan, in whatever capacity, we know that the current breed of people, they have anti-Indianism, hate for Indians, hate for Hindus. That has become a part of their DNA. Hate is an element that really seems to give them that energy and that exuberance. So I think this is something, expecting anything better from them under these circumstances, we would be fooling ourselves. Let me come to one question that was raised, that whether we should be playing them or not. It's a very sensitive subject. I agree that, particularly so soon after Pahalgam, I think it definitely is, raises, the wounds are still raw, and it tends to, sprinkle salt over them, as to what is being done. But I think we have made this point very clear, that no bilateral engagements at
Yes.
any level with Pakistan, but when you have some international responsibilities and international engagements, then of course you can do, particularly since our offers to host the Commonwealth Games here in 2030 and to host the Olympics in 2036 are going to be up for decision, then I think as international engagements, I think
Okay.
we should give it a very serious thought, and that is what it appears we have done in the present case. Gaurav.
Nikhil, on the Democratic Newsroom recently, we had a conversation about the mindset of the Pakistani players. Is this anti-Hindu hate, that Ambassador Sajjanhar was highlighting? It's been on for quite some time, isn't it? Mushtaq Mohammed, for example, the captain in the 1978-79 series. Now, Mushtaq Mohammed called Pakistan's victory in that era victory of Muslims over Hindus. Ambassador Partha Sarthi recalls in 1982, Imran Khan seeing cricket with India as jihad for Kashmir. Doesn't that come in? What kind of a mindset does this display? You interact with the cricketers, you interact very extensively with these elements. What is your impression?
I think it, Gaurav, boils down to two things. Right? I've interacted with a lot of those figures. Those figures I have a lot of respect to. Some of them have been legends of the sport. I recently traveled to Pakistan during the Champions Trophy. I did cover cricket. I spoke to the cricketers as well. So in that personal capacity, when they're out of the cricket field, and obviously me as an Indian, when I'm traveling there, I do get a very different reception, I must say. And over the years also, I have interviewed multiple Pakistani cricketers. It's different, but points that you made in terms of the messaging that comes across. And I think it boils down to two basic differences, something that was alluded to a little while earlier as well in the program. One is a difference of class. I think you have a lot of educated Indian cricketers that really turn up, that focus on the game. Their prime focus is on how to improve the game, whereas you sometimes get some sort of crude language as well as an outlook like that, where for them it becomes a victory of one religion over the other. That is something that you seldom see. The other thing is you look at Indian cricket or our bringing up. We're very secular in that sense. From a very young age, we've got different people from different religions playing in team, whether I'm playing at an under 15, 16 level, under 19, going on from there. And then comes the larger point as to, the basis on which the two countries were made. Of course, for Pakistan, they will look at it like it is a victory of Islam over Hindus and so on and so forth. That is something that has been mentioned. A lot of them, some of those players that I respect a lot. And sometimes I feel that these are the same players, and it's only after retirement that a lot of them turn into Maulvis and they take the religion, and that's when you actually see these radical views that come out. My point is, how does that, in any sense, end up helping them in cricket? No matter what your outlook is, no matter what is that you want to achieve, and your reasons for achieving that would be different. The fact of the matter is, you can do any sort of AK-47 celebrations. You can do, pretending that a Rafale is coming down. Whatever you might do, that is in no way helping you improve your cricketing skills, and you've been embarrassed by this Indian team. I'll just give an example. We're talking about Saidara Farhan's celebration of that AK-47. This man gets a 50 and finishes his innings at a strike rate of 120. Striking 120 for an Indian opener will be scrutinized. He'll be thrown out of the team. We have players in India who are sitting at 160 strike rate, can't even make the 15 of this team. My point is, he actually was celebrating something that can be looked at as a failure in India, and they're celebrating that. Actually tells you, if your mindset is going to be a victory of one religion over another, I think you will be stuck in that rut hole where they find themselves right now, which is
So
why I
why do
think
we
India
even
right
play
now
with
is not
Pakistan?
competing with Pakistan. But my point to that
Surya
is,
Kumar Yadav made
Gaurav,
it very clear. Surya Kumar Yadav made it very clear. They're not arch rivals. It's only, some may try to call them arch rivals to boost their ratings. They are not arch rivals. I mean, we are here. They are not even there. Why do we even play with them? And for their kind of conduct, can ICC, can a case be made to throw them out of the ICC as long as they behave in this uncouth manner?
okay, I'll try and answer both those questions. Firstly, in terms of why is it that we cannot isolate them, I agree that the ideal scenario would be you have to show a lot of will for that. that you isolate Pakistan. When it comes to India sitting out of multilateral tournaments, that is something that I would not like. Why would I want to
Yes.
see, with your past examples, you talk about apartheid, you talk about every other instance where, let's say, the USSR, the erstwhile USSR, that was isolated. But what happened? The guilty party at that time was isolated, not the aggrieved party. Why should we sit out because of all the shenanigans that Pakistan is doing and they continue to enjoy the fruits of participating in multilateral tournaments, whether it's at the Olympic level, whether it's Asia Cup, ICC?
True.
No, I think we should continue playing. Your ultimate goal should be to isolate Pakistan from these platforms and not sit out. That's the first thing. The second bit, you said, why should we play against Pakistan? I saw a lot of my cricket. I'm a 70s born kid. I saw a lot of my kids in 80s and 90s. And I did see a situation where, Ambassador Gupta also alluded. There was a time that Pakistan would have the wood over us. Now is the time we dominate them. I want that record to be the other way. I
Okay.
want to enjoy this moment where there's no competition from Pakistan. I will continue to beat them. So that brings the
Okay,
flow. I want you
Ambassador,
to
okay, give me a moment. Mr. Yashovardhan Azad, Mr. Yashovardhan Azad wants to come into this conversation. Go on, sir. You wanted to make a point,
Yes.
because given the pattern of
Gaurav,
obnoxious behavior, should our effort not be to oust Pakistan from international cricket and not boycott? That may damage our own interests.
Gaurav, that's exactly what I'm saying. These good words and niceties. What is this bilateral and multilateral tournament? I'm a lover of cricket. Everyone is a lover of cricket. The point is, if you want a message to be carried, then you have to be resolute. The country is more
Yes.
important than a few multilateral and a few tournaments here and there. Give you another example. It was a very, very important thing. The vested interests and the powers that be, the gang of vested interests with the ICC, the BCCI are interested in playing these matches. Why do we have these matches in UAE? There is a sleaze connected with Dubai. Whether it's betting, whether it's everything is there. They have these matches in somewhere in South Africa or in England, and see how the things will go down. This betting and this entire rubbish only goes there. If you want to have the message to be carried out, then the only way is you have to be resolute like Israel. Yes, we will not play
Yes.
tournaments. How many goals are you winning in here? How many? It's the money. It's the money which calls for everyone to be
Sure.
involved in this drama. What a country. Don't talk about them. Don't mention them. And just
No, my
ask
point is
the
throw
message
them
to
out.
carry.
We should play the Olympics. We should play Asian Games. We should play every match minus Pakistan is my effort. Jel Dhillon, our boys clearly, as Nikhil was also pointing out, they're a breed apart. Look at Abhishek Sharma. Look at our openers, Shubman Gill, responding to that obnoxious Pakistani sledging, but with their bat. They outclassed, whether it's Haris Rauf or Shaheen Shah Afridi or Saibzada, they just outclassed all of them. When Pakistani players like Abrar Ahmed, for example, they post pictures saying tea is fabulous. It's clearly not cricket that's top of their minds. Is this reflective of their inferiority complex, sir?
Absolutely, Gaurav. Like I said earlier, the PTSD or inferiority complex, call it by whatever name. When you took the names of Shubman Gill and Abhishek Sharma and their class, and you took some names of the Pakistanis, I don't even know them. ये ना खानदानी झलकती है. जब आप बात करते हो, जब आप कोई काम करते हो, तो आपकी खानदानी झलकती है कि आपके खानदान जब बाप दादा परदादा ने आपको क्या अच्छे कर्म दिए, क्या अच्छी आदतें दी, क्या अच्छा तहजीब दी. So this is visible on field. And now talking about should we boycott or not, let's be very clear. Nations must pay the strategic cost if they want to become great. And this is a very small cost to pay. And let me be again very clear. Once we are out of cricket tournament, may it be a ICC or may it be a non-ICC, there is no tournament. No one is going back home with money. It is India which brings in the money. And if we walk out or if we say we boycott this tournament because of this jihadi team, nobody is getting any money, and then the tournament will get flop on its own. We must understand our strength and we must play to our strengths. People have boycotted Olympics in the past. People have been, apartheid was being talked about. What's the big game? Nothing. Nations' pride must be held high. And this piddly nation cannot be brought to at par with us. We cannot allow this
Good
to
point.
happen. We must treat it at its merit. And the merit is down below, as you are pointing down. That is
Good
exactly
point.
what great nations should do. And that is how these people should be treated who
So
do not
both
know how to behave
Yashovardhan
on the field.
Azad, both Yashovardhan Azad and General Tiny Dillon are very clearly of the opinion nation must stand resolute and not encourage a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror. Ambassador Dogra, you've lived in Pakistan, you worked in Pakistan. When their interior minister reports or repeats what the radical Islamist army chief said about India being the shiny new Mercedes racing like a Ferrari and Pakistan being a dumper truck full of gravel, isn't this reflective of their very destructive mindset? They know we are progressing. They know they can't catch up. So their effort is they bring us down, bring India down.
Well, even when they are quoting such examples or making such statements, they are hurting themselves. It's like self-harm. I mean, obviously, Mercedes will speed away and the dumper truck will dump all the trash on them. But that is besides the point. My point is that if you keep on playing cricket with Pakistan, then what is the message you're sending out to the outside world? Look at what is happening outside world. Russia was not allowed to participate in Olympics because America demanded it. And that is not just the only recent Olympics that they were debarred from. There were other examples also where Russia was not allowed. Russian tennis players, their names are there on the scoreboard in Wimbledon and then French Open, but the name of the country is missing.
Yes.
We must, not just
Good
because of
point.
our money power, but also because of the message to the outside world. Ensure that ICC takes note of our concern and of the consistent bad behavior of Pakistan from politicians down to the players. And we should
Yes.
insist that it be debarred. If in the process we fail, or if in the process these Asia Cups collapse, so be it. We have wonderful IPL.
And there's no Pakistan in IPL since 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. So I have almost all my panelists on entirely the same page. Ambassador Sajanhar, India will have to very clearly decide. And when we say India, it's BCCI and the Ministry of Home Affairs. And this is where Government of India will have to take that hard call, will not play with the state sponsor of radical Islamist terror? Or is there merit in those who say, defeat them in these matches, show the wide gap between a powerful India and a puny Pakistan?
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. And I can see that all my good friends and the distinguished panelists on this show seem to be of the opinion that we should not be playing. As I said right at the beginning, this is a very sensitive issue. This is not a very cut and dry issue that meaning it's either this or that. It's not a black and white issue. And in my view, a very considered view has to be taken. And I still hold that opinion, notwithstanding what has been said. I can understand the emotions. It's not that I don't feel the emotions as strongly as they do, or as, I think you yourself also do, because you have been also a very strong votary of not, playing in these matches, as many other people are, and I respect that. It's not that, I'm trying to challenge that or something. I respect that. But I still feel that, we should not be excluding ourselves from these games. What we need to do is we need to do on the play field, play
Yes.
the well, defeat them. I think that is the biggest message that you are sending, rather than sort of, staying out and staying back and sort of, and of course, as I mentioned, there are other implications also. Even if you don't go into those, I think basically you defeated them in the battle, you defeated them in the war, you have defeated them here on these in the games, in the play field.
Okay.
That I think that is the best message that you can send.
I've had an outstanding panel of guests, and it's such a privilege to have all of you on the show for joining me here on India First. Gentlemen, many thanks.